Yo, what's cracking, guys? Faison here. It's day 2 of Season 2 of Master Duel. I just got to Platinum 1 again with a 10 win streak. We switched it up this time. I'm not on Eldlich. I played exclusively ADAMANCIPATORs to get to this rank. I had about a 95-ish% win rate. I only have the last 20 games here. I didn't realize they delete them, but whatever. I had an 85% win rate in Plat, and I don't believe I lost any games in Gold, but I may have lost one, so I'm gonna say roughly 95% win. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. I think the deck is super, super strong. It plays through Max C incredibly well. It plays through multiple negates incredibly well. The only matchup that I'd say is particularly difficult is the Tritron matchup, which, honestly, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it's a little bit of a coin flip. If you go first, you're winning the Tritron matchup 10 out of 10 times. If you're forced to go second, it's a little dicey. You have to either have a Nibiru that they don't summon their negate before the 5th summon, or you have to have like a really well placed Ash Blossom. Like, for example, if they start Alpha effect tributing Zeta and you get the Ash Blossom, that's really rough for them. Or the nice thing is you can Max C, which will eventually let you get into the Nibiru or Ash. But again, it's not a foolproof plan. I think that's just the nature of combo against combo, where oftentimes it ends up being whoever wins the die roll gets to set up a huge board and the other player just has to scoop. But other than that, I think all the matchups are quite good. The only situation where it might get really dicey against Eldlich is if they're playing Gozen. I think that this deck can play through Eldlich's Pop and Floodgates typically, because while they might be able to resolve a skill drain, your Block Dragon is quite a problem regardless, and you can kind of just swarm the board. Again, it's not a foolproof strategy. It works, and it has worked for me, and I think especially at lower ranks it will work. But just the nature of like this combo deck is you really want to go first. This deck can play against a lot of decks going second, but if you're playing against a Drytron player or an Eldlich player who draws the nuts and they get to go first, you're not going to have a good time. That's just how it's going to be. But yeah, let's get right into the list. We're playing the 1 Dragonbuster Destruction Sword. This is what lets you play through Max C. The card is incredible. I take the Max C challenge every time because the end board is usually going to be a Savage with something like 4750 or 5000 attack with a Buster lock on it. You get an Appaloosa with between 2 and 4 materials, and either an Abyss Dweller or an IP Masquerena, which is going to turn into Unicorn Bounce. So the board is very, very oppressive, and most decks just can't deal with it, especially if they're not allowed to go into their extra deck. We're playing the 2 Adhara. This is a tuner that lets you special summon itself from hand. It turns into a free Hulk play. If you notice, we are not actually playing Deskbot, Auroradon, Jet Synchron, anything like that, because we're not using the Hulk to Synchro Summon here. What we're actually doing is just using Hulk to Link Climb into the Appaloosa, which I usually get out as early as possible, just because it lets me be a little more free with my board and get rid of my Kawakimeru Guardians, and not be so fearful of hand traps. But yeah, we go into the 3 Max C. You gotta play it. Lets you draw into Nibiru, lets you draw into power cards. It's just too good not to, obviously. Doki Doki, pretty decent starter. I like to use him to pitch a level 4 and go into ADAMANCIPATOR Analyzer. The issue with Analyzer is you want to resolve all of your ADAMANCIPATOR effects every turn, ideally, but Analyzer doesn't let you special summon from hand unless your opponent controls a monster. So even if you were to add it later in the combo with Block Dragon, you just can't summon it. It either has to be in your opening hand or you have to get it off of Doki Doki. So I usually do the latter. We're playing the 1 Dropsies. This is just to go with the 3 Roxies, which I'll kind of explain as we go through it. For your ADAMANCIPATOR names, we're playing 3 Seeker, 3 Researcher. You want to resolve each of these each turn. It lets you swarm the board super hard. There's no reason not to play 3 of each. The 3 Ash Blossom, this is honestly just to deal with Max C. The 1 Gigantes, the reason we're not playing more is because it can't be special summoned off of ADAMANCIPATOR effects. You usually just search it off of Block Dragon, which lets you go into another level 4 later in the game. We're playing the 3 Kawakimeru Guardian. You want to see this early, ideally, because it lets you protect yourself against Nibiru, especially, or just hand traps in general, until you get your Appaloosa out. We're playing the 3 Roxys. So just like the Adhara line goes into Hulk, which goes into Appaloosa, the Roxy's line is essentially the alternate play that I usually go for, which lets you go into Meow Meow and then Dodo and then Appaloosa. These lines basically provide the same function. It's more just a matter of which one you see. And the nice thing is, with each line, the Adhara line eventually gets your Hulk into Grave, and the Roxy's line gets your Dropsies into Grave, which means that no matter which way you go, you're going to have a water in Grave, which means your Dragite is going to be live. So that's a super important consideration if you're playing against a trap deck, or you have a feeling that you might be playing against a trap deck. The Dragite is going to come up just as much as the Savage. And, for example, Savage is just way worse against the Eldlich matchup specifically because using all those resources to get to a Buster Lock doesn't do anything when they're not going into the extra deck. Your Madolche Petting Cessor, this is just a free level 4 that special summons itself from hand. This usually just ends up becoming an early Granite. We're playing the 3 Analyzer. Like I said, you want to see this every turn if you can. This one is the hardest one to summon, just because you typically can't guarantee it early in the combo. We're playing the 2 Suppliers, sorry. This is just a way for you to get more hand resources, because it'll search Guardian, and then the Guardian can later be used to reveal for another Guardian. It can be mulliganed off of Vaseka's Light, it can be banished off of Roxy's to continue your combo. It's just good to keep the hand size up. And the nice thing about Supplier is it will special summon itself if you have it in hand when a rock monster is sent to grave. So as you're just going into your Appaloosa lines, the Supplier will never break in your hand. It'll just become another material, it'll become an Abyss Dweller or a Gallon Granite, it'll do all kinds of stuff. The 3 Block Dragon, you want to see this as early as possible. This card is so broken that even when there weren't tournaments, this card got banned because Adamancipator was just too terrifying. You always search this early off of Gallon Granite unless you draw it, and I usually try to get it off the board as quickly as possible by going into an Appaloosa with it, just so I can start cycling him early, because he can be special summoned as many times as you have materials to banish for him. And that first time he goes to grave, he will get to search you 3 monsters, which is going to get you into your Adamancipator names if you haven't already resolved them. It's going to get you your Gigantes, which is just going to give you another level 4. Those are the ones I go for the most for sure, because they are the ones that can special summon for free from hand. For the last monster, we're playing the 1 Nibiru. I could easily see myself upping this to 2. It's just that, as you might notice, I only have 0 ultra rare dust, so I was going to play it at 2 just because I figured between the Maxis, the Ash Blossoms, and the Nibiru, I had about an 80-ish% chance of seeing 1 hand trap, and the Maxi specifically will let you draw into the other hand traps. So I felt that 2 was like a perfect ratio. I just don't have it. And finally, we're playing the 3 Sekka's Light. Because we're playing a Monster Mash deck, we don't need any spells and traps. Sekka's Light is the best card in this situation. It gets you a Pot of Greed and a mulligan if you ever draw anything bad. Going into the extra deck, we have the Herald of the Arclight. Honestly, I almost never go into this. I just don't think that it's worth it unless I expect to be playing against Eldlich. But just because of the nature of Master Duel, you're never really going to know what your opponent's playing. If they're not dropping any hand traps, I guess you can kind of use that as a read, but it could still be anything. They could have just drawn bad. This I often use on the follow-up play just to protect my my climb into the access code. We're playing the 1 Raptite, which is just used to continue your combo. And the nice thing about Raptite is it works the same way as the Adamancipator main deck monsters, but it can actually summon tuners, unlike the main deck monsters. Savage, I end on this basically every game, unless I don't expect to be able to get Buster Lock on it, in which case I will sometimes end on Dragite. Dragite, I typically like to leave it for the follow-up play, because on the chance that my opponent breaks my Savage Buster Lock Appaloosa board, and I can summon Dragite on the follow-up, it lets me bounce their entire field, and Dragite plus an access code talker that has been climbed into with Unicorn is going to be exactly 8,300 damage, which is going to get you game in every matchup unless they heal. We have the 1 Abyss Dweller. I will go into this more often than the IP Masquerena if I have 2 monsters on board that are level 4s. But if I'm unable to find the 4s, I will go into IP instead. The Gallant Granite is going to be just you summon it as early as possible to go into Block Dragon. If you have a Block Dragon in your hand already, I actually never go into this. The Meow Meow is used alongside Roxy's. You go into Meow Meow, Doodle, and then this will become your Appaloosa eventually. Usually I go the Dodo, a Block Dragon, and the Roxy's into Appaloosa, and then because I get the Block Dragon search, I can continue my combo from there. Alternatively, like I said, the Hulk line is going to give you the Adhara, the Hulk, and the Block Dragon are going to give you that same Appaloosa. So you can see there's a pattern here where the Block Dragon is being used to make Appaloosa, and then you continue from that point forward. And I believe I already said before, but the nice thing is both of these lines actually get you a water monster engrave. With the Adhara line, it's going to be the Halqifibrax. With the Roxy's line, it's going to be your Dropsies, and because either of them gets you a water engrave, your Dragite's negate is live no matter which play you go for. We have the One Nightmare Phoenix, just gets rid of odd spells and traps that are being a problem. The Dodo, like I said, is just for Appaloosa. IP Masquerena, I'll go into this so I can go into Unicorn if Dweller is not an option. We're playing the Union Carrier, which is how you equip a Dragon Buster Destruction Sword to the Borreload Savage Dragon. The Appaloosa, I go into this every game. And Access Code Talker, I will leave exclusively for the follow-up play. So yeah, if you actually look over in the match history, you'll notice that most of these games don't go past like 2 turns, especially as you start going down. We have 3, 2, 2, 2, 1. What happens is most people will see your end board. They'll realize that they can't use monster effects very effectively. They can't use graveyard effects because of the Abyss Dweller. They can't. They're gonna have at least one spell or trap negated with the Savage, and they can't go into the extra deck, and they just scoop it up right there. And for the occasions where they are able to break your board, like for example, one time I had someone use Evenly Matched against me to try to get rid of my whole board, and then they chained the Droplet when I negated with Savage, and nuked my whole board. They had to use so many resources to get to that point that they weren't able to kill me, and I was able to kill them on the crackback with Dragite plus Access Code. And so those kinds of situations come up all the time. I've said before, but this deck is incredibly strong. I'm definitely a huge control player, but if the deck's broken, I'm going to play it. It was a very, very quick and easy climb. I would highly recommend it, and let me know if y'all want to see like a combo guide, and if you have any questions about the deck. But other than that, let me know how the rank season's going so far. Expect to see more gameplay of both Eldlich and this deck, and who knows what I might pick up next. I got an OV Raptor right here, so maybe Dino. But yeah, catch you around. Peace.